Okay, back for the fourth episode of Parapsychology Hour. How you doing? This is Joey Ray, episode 4. First 3 episodes. First one was on 9/11, epic stuff. Episode 2 was going to be on God as the original GPS, how to find and follow God internally. Episode 3 was going to be on the many ways that God communicates with us through synchronicity, for instance, with me, and other forms with other people, and it's really quite unique, and really quite powerful. So anyways, parapsychology, what is it? So to kind of catch people up on this is their first episode they're ever seeing. Definitely recommend you go back and check out the first 3, but episode 4 is going to be on my visitation, and we're going to figure out the name of the title, but basically let's just go over the study of parapsychology, which is basically the study of alleged psychic phenomenon, including extrasensory perception, whether it be through telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, psychometry, and also has to do with the study of other paranormal related experiences such as near-death experiences, synchronicity, which is my specialty, and also apparitional experiences, right? So pretty amazing stuff. Parapsychology is one of those subjects where a lot of people will go, ugh, you know what I mean? Because they initially are just kind of like, oh, that's something dark, or that's something we shouldn't be getting involved in. And here's what Albert Einstein, which is one of the brightest minds on the planet, right? This is what he said. He said that that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. So, and that we have created a society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift. So, Albert Einstein, he seems to think that this intuitive mind is the sacred gift, being as parapsychology kind of taps into all that. We are supernatural beings living in a supernatural universe, right? So, all right, so we've already done my first 3 episodes. The 4th episode is on my visitation, and this happened September 3rd of 2008, okay? And this was back in the day, and this happened right here, right about this area in South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, September 3rd, 2008. And I had just driven cross country, and I was going on a trip to go visit one of my best friends, and in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, en route up to go visit my family after being discharged from the Air Force. Okay, so I was no longer in the Air Force. I was back in being a civilian in civilian clothes, and I was going to drive to go see my family and check up on everybody, right? Been some time since I've seen anybody since I was in the service. So September 3rd, 2008, let's rewind a little bit. So September 2nd, I arrived in Myrtle Beach. And me and my friend, we got together. We actually went down to the beach and saw the sunrise on the morning of September 3rd. And that was, went down there probably about 4 or 5 in the morning. Saw the sunrise from the east, right? Come up right out of the ocean, so beautiful. But I noticed some crazy clouds, right? That were basically, they look like a hand and like a finger coming off a cloud, and it was pointing right towards just right out to the east, and pointing right out to the eastern part of the sky, right over the ocean, perfectly, right? And I was just thinking to myself, man, it looks like the hand of God, right? Like He's the artist, God's the artist, and there's going to be some art, that He's going to do some art. And I saw clouds starting to build, and they were off in the distance, and it was coming up, the sun's coming up all powerfully and everything, and there's kind of some clouds building, and kind of looks a little ominous, right? And I'm just kind of like, wow, it's looks like the hand of God, right? And so went about our day, had breakfast, went about our day, spent the whole day just kind of relaxing, having fun, kind of stayed away from the beach, did a bunch of stuff internally while the heat was going on. Remember, it's right after August in South Carolina. And so anyways, a lot of people are still in the hotels, vacation are still going on. It's the very, very first week of September, still some vacationers. So that night, kind of started getting the itch though, and I was like, with me and my friend, and I was like, you know what? I want to go back to the ocean. I kind of feel like, let's go down to the ocean. I haven't seen it in so long. I've been landlocked. I did my military service in Tucson, Arizona, which was right about this area of Arizona. And so anyways, I was like, all right, well, I haven't seen the ocean in a long time. I just saw it this morning in a beautiful sunrise. Let's go down. We've already missed the sunset, but let's just go down and just see kind of like the midnight moon, right? Over the southern skies, right? So, sounded good to me, so we went down. We took a ride, got down to the beach. My friend, my best friend, so this is kind of a cool story because this is a story with a witness. And he was the one who parked the car. And for anybody who hasn't been to Myrtle Beach, or anybody who has been to Myrtle Beach that's familiar with the beach scene there, they have these little parking lot outlets, beach access lots, they call them. And they're about every other street or so, and you can pull into these beach access lots, and there's actually spots you can park in for the beach goers to be able to walk right, conveniently down to the beach and right back to the beach access without being, having much distance between the walk, right? So, very convenient. We just pulled in one of these beach access lots. Friend pulled right in, and we walked through the, over the little wooden plank thing, over the sand dunes, right into the perfect little spot, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean as the waves were kind of coming up and pounding the seashore, right? So we're sitting there, we're looking out at this beautiful beach, and we just started talking. We're not walking, we're just sitting stationary, and it's probably about 11 o'clock at night, 10 something, 11 o'clock at night, right around there. And I looked down the beach this way, and I looked down the beach this way. And there was about every 50 yards or so, about every about a football field, you'd have about 3 groups of people, right? And at the end, one at the end zone, one at the 50-yard marker, one at the end zone, right? And so then that was the case throughout the beach, all the way as far as the eye could see this way up the coast, and as far as the eye could see this way down the coast. It's nighttime, so you can't see far, but you can just see the shadows, right, of people. And so anyways, that was the, I just kind of noticed that, and of course that makes sense, because when people go to the beach, like if they have the whole beach this way, they're not going to sit right up next to somebody over here. They're going to go and get some space, right? And people kind of space it out that way. So anyways, so that night was starting off normal, just out there watching, just sitting there, just talking amongst each other, hadn't seen each other for years. Just got done with my military service, was en route up north, but was making a pit stop there, talking about the day, just talking about life, and everything normal, nothing, out of the ordinary. And so, after about 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes of conversation, things start to kind of settle down, right? Conversation settles down. Now we're just chilling, just taking in this beautiful ocean, right? The waves. You know what I mean? Like, just amazing, right? So now we're sitting there, beautiful waves, not a cloud in the sky, okay? There's not a cloud in the sky. It is just gorgeous, beautiful stars twinkling, just amazing, right? One of the things that people do when they go to the beach, real quick, if the beach is this way, right? If I'm looking at the beach right now, if I'm looking at the ocean, I should say, the ocean's this way, right? Nobody goes down to the beach, right, to the ocean, and nobody faces the land, right? Nobody sits there and looks at the land while the ocean's behind them, right? And says, oh, wow, look at that land, right? Everybody goes and everybody faces the beach. They set up their beach chairs to face the beach. Like, everybody just faces the beach, right? So it's about 11 o'clock at night. There's no sunshine. I can't see much, you know what I mean, besides the moonlight that's lighting up the thing, but there's no clouds. And I'm looking off over the ocean, and there's about a group of people every 50 yards spaced out, right? And it's just gorgeousness. And then all of a sudden, amongst the conversation dying down and just being one with his thoughts, right? Throughout the whole entire beach, everybody, people who aren't in conversation, they're just being one with their thoughts at that point, right? And not a bad place to be. And so just sitting there, and all of a sudden I have this thought come in my head. And, they talk about being guardian of your thoughts, being aware of the thoughts that come into your mind and kind of, being the watcher, and Eckhart Tolle talks about that. And other people mention that as well as part of consciousness is just being aware. And just being aware is such a huge step in that battle. Because if you're aware and you realize that your thoughts are coming from where they're coming from, what thoughts are yours and what thoughts are not yours, so to speak, because that's the thing, we are bombarded with all sorts of stimuli throughout the day, right? Whether it's electrochemical and all sorts of digital stimuli, you know what I mean? So there's we're being bombarded all the time, right? So there's going to be some thoughts that subliminally get planted there that aren't ours, right? So and just learning how to navigate our emotions and our thoughts is huge. So I'm sitting there, facing the ocean, right? Facing the beach, me and my friend, right? Looking out over the ocean, you can picture us, right? Chilling. And all of a sudden, I get this thought, and the thought in my mind, and it's not a voice, it wasn't a voice, you know what I mean? But it was a thought. And the thought in my mind said, look up. So I had a thought in my mind that was like, look up. Just like that too, like look up. It was like that cadence, that type of, like look up. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, look up. It's a weird thought to have while I'm at the beach, you know what I mean? Like, I've already looked up at the stars, I can look up and see all the stars. What's the big deal? Why am I saying look up? You know what I mean? Like I'm about to see something? Like what am I looking at? So I look up, just like this, and it's just stars as far as the eye can see. And, light years away, right? Thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of light years away, these stars sparkling, right, throughout the sky. All I can see. There's not a cloud in the sky, just open space, right? Beautiful. So I was just like, I honored the thought, like look up, and I was just kind of like, that's interesting. So okay, I'll look up, because I've learned, like that you want to kind of pay attention to signs, right? And so you honor that stuff. Typically when it happens, you use discernment, but you honor it. And it's not going to hurt anything to glance up, right? So I look up, nothing there. And I was just kind of like, I just remember shaking it off, being like, what a weird thought, like that's... And I just thought to myself, like, that's an anomaly. What an anomaly, like a mind anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, where did that thought come from? What a weird thought. Didn't seem to be mine, telling me what to do, telling me to look up. It wasn't something that was like, suggesting to myself, like, like, I wonder what's going on up there. Like, oh, let me look up, It was like, look up. You know what I mean? And I was just kind of like, okay, telling me what to do and telling me to look up. Nothing there. So I just go back and I just rub it. It's an anomaly. Like mind anomaly, the mind does funny things, right? They say mind, plays tricks on people. Mind does this, mind does that, right? Mind anomaly, just like it happens. Chalk it up, right? So at that point, just go right back to just sitting there, listening to the waves pound the beach. Right, just amazing. Everybody's been there, right? You just every time that beach hits, man, you just feel like so much stress melting away from your body, right? So at this point, sitting there, it's been about 30 seconds since I looked up last and had that last thought, and all of a sudden I get the thought again. And this time it says, look further up. Just like that. That came, look further up. Kind of like, don't be lazy, right? And I'm just kind of like, look further up? How the hell am I going to look further up? I can't, my eyes only work so good, I can't see, like I'm not a telescope, I can't see I can't look further up, So I guess unless it means like look further up, like yoga-wise, like bend my back as far as I can see so I can see further back. So I honor, you know what I mean? So I honored the thought, and I was just like, look further up. Like, what does it mean? So I started looking further up, and mind you, remember I told you there's not a cloud in the sky. I look further up, and so now my eyes can see about this far back, right behind me. All of a sudden, I turn and look because I see something that's triangular shaped, about 1,000 to 1,500 feet off the deck. I would say no less than 1,000. And then had 3 lights. It was drifting. And when I say drifting, like when I looked behind it, it was like right there. Now, if that was a plane in the sky or a helicopter, like within a second or two, it would have been, you know what I mean? Like, especially 1,000 feet, you know what I mean? It would be right over you, already past you, you know, flying past you, right? This thing just basically wasn't hovering, it was moving. But I mean, when I tell you, like, as slow as this thing was moving, it took about a good minute, 2 minutes before it actually got over me and my buddy. And so I had time, and I saw it before it got over us. And it was coming right to me and my friend. I mean, it wasn't over to the right, it wasn't over to the left. I mean, this thing was coming right over the top of us. And it had just communicated with me. Think about that. Telepathically, through thoughts. I had a thought that came into my mind that I knew was not mine. It's telling me to look up. I looked up, nothing there. When I went back to just chilling with me and my thoughts, I had another weird thought that came from the same place that I knew was like weird. Look further up, and I was just kind of like, what the hell does this mean? I look further up. I bent my back so I could see as far as I could see, and all of a sudden I see a triangular shaped craft, and I'm like immediately just kind of like turn around and look. There's no stars. This thing's blocking out the stars as it's moving. I mean, I had to literally do this. I had to literally just be like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck is going on? Like, I can't believe I'm seeing this, right? And sorry, being all crazy. But people would be like, I can't believe you're touching your face. But anyways, this thing was hovering, moving slowly, and I immediately turned and grabbed my friend. She said, dude, hey, oh my God. I said, look. I said, that's a UFO, dude. And he turned and looked, and literally just not a word. Me and him both, not a word. And I was like, dude, I just got out of the Air Force. I'm like, I can tell you right now, I'm like, we don't have anything like that's on the Air Force bases. And I was like, I'm not saying that we may not have something that's, you know, advanced in many ways, but dude, that thing just communicated with me telepathically, and unless there's humans that can communicate with other humans like telepathically through spaceships, then that's a UFO, and that's extraterrestrials, bro. That's like some sort of alien race, right? And what do they want with me and my buddy? You know what I mean? Like, and they specifically communicated with me through my thought. Like I'm the one who like grabbed my buddy and was like, dude, oh my God, look. You know, if I had not seen it, then what would have happened was, think about it. As you're facing the beach, if I was looking out this way and so wasn't my friend, and we were both looking this way, we're not going to see it just like everybody else until the ship, right? If you picture the ship being behind me, you know, and then I turned around and saw it, right, by bending back, and then we were able to enjoy it before it actually got over us, and then it got over us and flew, and it basically kept hovering going out to sea. But we wouldn't have seen it until it got in our field of view, which is right about here, which is what everybody else throughout the whole beach, 50 yards down, bip, people. They're not gonna see it until it comes into their view. That's awesome. I just saw 3 little birds, bang, bang, bang. Awesome, good energy. I know this is good energy. But anyways, I'm glad that I saw that sign. I've been thinking about this video for a long time, how I was going to disclose this. But this was a very, very powerful UFO sighting. Not only for the sense that I have eyewitnesses. I have one of my friends that's an eyewitness. I have people on the beach on South Carolina, Myrtle Beach at night that also took videos. There's videos on YouTube. If you YouTube UFO September 3rd, Myrtle Beach, 2008, you have to dig, but you'll find videos of people with UFOs, and they have them kind of moving around the sky, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But like I said, we wouldn't have seen it until it got in the field of view out here. It already would have been past us, right? It would have been right here, and we would have looked up and seen it and been like, oh my God, that just went right over us. But it gave me and my friend the choice before it even came over us, when it was still here. And I was like, dude, oh my God, it's a UFO, What do we do? And as this thing was moving towards us, I was thinking to myself, bro, like, we gotta move. I was like, let's move, like, let's slide about 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards, you know what I mean? Whatever, however many yards down, we'll just start walking this way, so that way this thing does not fly right over the top of us, right? Because that's kind of crazy. And then as soon as I thought that, it wasn't like the thoughts came the same place where it was like, move up, move further up. But it was almost like it came from that spot, and it was just kind of like, but I think it was my own consciousness at that point coming in, and just being like, dude, honestly, like, this thing just communicated with you by thoughts. Like, if it sounds like if this thing wanted to find you, like, it could find you. You know what I mean? So you're gonna walk away like 20 yards this way and think that like you just outsmarted this thing and that this thing didn't get you or something like that. So I was just kind of like, you know what? I was like, this thing, if this is, it's just meant to be, if it's meant to be, right? And so as I'm watching this thing as it's flying over the top of us, and I was thinking to myself, well, here we go, I'm going up, right? And I've heard all these stories before about here comes the aliens, right? So here we go, going up. And as this thing was moving over the top of me and my buddy, nothing happened that I know of. No energy sensitivities, no nothing, no lost time, no nothing, no whatever. Like, weirdness, right? Just didn't notice a thing. And me and my buddy just sat there, but it literally flew right over the top of us. I mean, directly, like centered, right over the top of us. Communicated with me before it did that. Gave me the choice. You know what I mean? I said, you know what? Like, this thing will find me. So might as well just chill and let it do its thing. And it flew right over the top of me and my buddy. And then, like I said, we watched it. Didn't even take our phones out. We were just so in awe. And I think that's kind of like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, I wish I had grabbed my phone. But then I'm also like, dude, I'm so glad that I just enjoyed it and didn't grab my phone and like sat there and like blah, blah. But at the same token, what a video that would have been. But so anyways, but as it was going, and it got to the field of view for everybody else that was watching the beach and not had their attention turned to the land, right? To look at something that was approaching from the land, right? Like, again, because everybody goes to the beach and faces the beach, nobody faces the land. And so when it entered the field of view of everybody else, all of a sudden you could hear the commotion on the beach. Now, me and my friend weren't yelling. We weren't like, oh my God, look, everybody, look. We were just literally like, our jaws were open, like, you know what I mean? And as this thing moved over us, we were just like, oh my God. And then as the commotion hit, like, everybody started being like, oh my God, look up. And then people were like, oh my God, it's a UFO. And triangular ship, and it just sailed right over the ocean. It just sailed, like, right off the coast. And it just basically just kept that same speed, kept that same cruising speed, same cruising altitude, and just slowly just meandered and just flowed off the coast of South Carolina. And me and my friend sat there and watched it for about 10 minutes. And I was like, man, talking about UFO sightings, everybody always says, man, I always want to see a UFO. Or, man, I wish I'd see a UFO. And I was like, not only did I just see a UFO, dude, I just had one communicate with me. And I was like, and tell me that it was about to cross over me so I could actually look up and see it and not just see it after the fact like everybody else was. And I was like, this was like a very special occurrence. And so I'm kind of like taking that all in, and me and my buddy are just kind of like taking that whole thing in as it goes out. And as it goes out, it gets out about, I'd say maybe about a mile, about a mile and a half, and maybe a half mile, but definitely close to a mile, and pretty good ways off, getting towards the horizon. It's a much smaller speck at this point, and all of a sudden, I don't know, obviously it wasn't a transformer, okay, but it's not like it just broke up into smaller ships, but obviously like it was big enough that it had smaller ships compartmentalized inside of it, and it must have opened up and just let these smaller ships out, and then all of a sudden, like, these smaller ships came out, and if you picture this being the sky, and I'm going to go right back to the beginning part of my video, this is the parapsychology part of it. Not only was telepathically, there's telepathy involved in this, associated with possible extraterrestrials, or Space Force people in spacecrafts, right? I'm gonna go with the former on that one, which is gonna be the extraterrestrials for sure, and then the morning before with the clouds and the hand of God. And think about that. Remember I said the morning before I went to the beach, that sunrise was the same exact spot that we went to that morning. And I saw those clouds when the sun was rising. It looked like the hand of God. It looked like a hand with like one finger pointing. That finger that it was pointing to was that exact spot in the sky where the UFO went to. And then all of a sudden, all these smaller ships came out of it. And when all these smaller ships came out of it, that's the video that you see on the YouTube, Myrtle Beach 2008, September 3rd. I would say probably about 12 ships came out of it, somewhere around that number. And they just started dancing and just moving and just dancing all over the sky, like this crazy elaborate dance. And this was before I found out about my meditative dancing gift, mind you. So that wasn't until October 26th of 2010, which is going to be the next video I do, Parapsychology episode 5. So now we're starting to pick up some steam. But September 3rd, 2008, that was my first visitation with some sort of otherworldly source, right? That ship was amazing. That thing just basically, like I said, no propulsion, no sound, no smoke. Was able to just glide over the sky like magnetically using the Earth. Then we're able to get out over the sea, have these other ships come out of it that were UFOs, and those ships like started moving like. I mean, just like picture like 12 ships just doing this, and it was like this elaborate dance. It was like this elaborate dance, which was just like unbelievable. And it went on for, I'd say, about another 5-10 minutes, almost 10 minutes. Just went on like for crazy for a while. And then all of a sudden, like after about 10 minutes, at this point, you had news choppers coming out. I remember seeing like Channel 5, Myrtle Beach, right? Because this has been going on from the very spot when I saw it. It probably took about 10 minutes to get out there. So it's been going on about 20 minutes now. And it's doing this crazy elaborate thing over the sky. And then all of a sudden, after about 10 minutes, it just went lights out. And then that was it. And then they were gone. And you couldn't see the triangular ship anymore on the horizon, gone. And all the ships that were there, just gone. But it was just this amazing dance that it did over the sky. Like I said, it was the hand of God with a finger pointed to that spot in the sky the morning before, which tells me, God telling me, hey, this is I'm about to put on a show for you. This is my type of art. And, basically welcome back from the Air Force, back into the civilian world. And I don't know if this was extraterrestrials, if they were having to wait on me to be discharged from the military in order to say what up. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but they definitely seemed to be friendly. I did not have any sort of ill will or anything like that. And the fact that it communicated with me before we parked on the beach, and it communicated with me and lined up perfectly with me and my buddy. And like I said before, it actually got there on the beach, because we wouldn't have seen it until it came into the field of view like everybody else. And if it hadn't said look up and then look further up, causing me to look actually further up, seeing it over here in the sky before it had a chance to glide over me and my buddy. I mean, talk about a UFO sighting, okay? This is like absolutely, amazing. One of my top. I mean, I could just go back to that moment and picture everything that happened in that moment. I see everything. I can picture everything. I see the craft in my mind. I see everything that happened over the sea. I can go right back to that moment and feel everything in that moment, and it's absolutely powerful and beautiful. But that is the 4th episode of Parapsychology Hour. You guys be good out there, all right? No shenanigans, no BS, right? Keep it on the up and up. And you always want to remember that that this stuff that I talk about, it's a lot of this stuff is it's out of our control. That's part of what parapsychology is. It's working with the paranormal. One of the things I learned from weather forecasting in the Air Force is that weather is not an exact science, because you're working with Mother Nature. And unfortunately, Mother Nature decides to do just whatever Mother Nature decides to do sometimes, and just throw science up on top of its head, right? And we all know the power of Mother Nature, and that she is never to be underestimated. And so, I mean, this basically parapsychology has, talking about that. It's not an exact science, it's paranormal. And this type of stuff, like that's why in the definition of parapsychology, this is alleged psychic phenomenon. A lot of this stuff cannot be verified because it's after the fact, and you're just talking about experiences that had to you. But here's the deal, is like that first experience that I have witnesses. I have witnesses that heard me talk about the dreams that I had before September 11th. So they can verify, yes, that's true. He had these dreams before September 11th about a plane crash. Yes, it's true. He had these dreams before September 11th about some sort of demonic presence being in like a building. And yes, that's true. He did have somebody that was on his, related somehow in his family, connection. And that was on the first plane that hit the trade tower, and yes, that's true that, he was one of the people that was at the funeral attending services down in, right off where the Mayflower landed for that, for those services, for United Flight 11, you know what I mean? And the other ones that left from Boston. And so it's like that can all be verified, and that's all true. God is the original GPS. That story, no, I mean that's my own story, but that's true. I would not lie. And the third one about how God, communicates in different ways, synchronicity, talking about the shooting star, and that was in Myrtle Beach as well with the girl. And that's, I'm not making that up either, but that really can't be verified either. But this one can be verified by the friend that actually saw the UFO with me, and also YouTube, which people can go right on YouTube and look it up and actually see that the UFO did occur over Myrtle Beach that night. And again, I have no reason to make this story up, and that's exactly how it happened. It literally communicated with me, said, look up, look further up. So if you ever have any thoughts in your mind, okay, and you don't know where they came from, look around, okay, because sometimes you get thoughts from places that or from things that necessarily aren't yours. And that doesn't mean that you should follow every time you have a thought impulse, because sometimes thoughts can be not good, right? And not good thoughts, so you shouldn't follow everything. Obviously, if that thought said, hey, run out into the ocean until you can't touch the bottom anymore and keep swimming for another hour, I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? But just looking up is very harmless. So, sounds like we're getting some fire department going by, so let's send some prayers out to those people, all of our emergency workers throughout the country. Let's send some prayers out to all of our emergency workers throughout our whole entire country. Let's not forget about Florida down there, and let's not forget about Maine and all the other areas of the country, right? Like our West Coast and down there in Texas, right? So let's not forget about that area as well. But let's send some love out to everybody, all of our emergency workers. Let's ask God and the angels keep on guarding this beautiful country, and let's ask for emergency workers and angels to be everywhere all the time. Parapsychology, this is real stuff, and energy goes where energy flows, if that makes sense, or intention goes where energy flows, or maybe energy goes where intention flows. One of those, right? But in all reality, so what you basically what you focus on and what your intentions are, energy will flow that direction. So you always want to kind of just try to be as positive as possible, and just know that every moment that you're in, it's you're flavoring reality around you, and also how things will cascade from that moment forward. So it's very important to try to remain positive as possible in all aspects of your life, because it does make a difference in the things that happen. And if I had been in a bad mood that night when we were in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or had not been, if we had been lazy or not, whatever, definitely tired from the day, but if it not had gone down to the beach, we wouldn't have seen that. And so it's just, sometimes when you get impulses, pay attention to them, and who knows, you might just see a UFO. But anyways, you guys have a great night. God bless you guys. Joey Ray coming back at you, episode 5 coming up. Peace out.